We all love a good fight on social media. We see people arguing, we get the popcorn out, and we enjoy reading the comments. Well, I love doing the same thing with office emails. There are situations when I get my popcorn out when I see fights happening between different parties. And sometimes I really enjoy reading those emails going back and forth. So today, let's talk about those situations. Working on a vendor site, it's always been that the law firm is yelling at a vendor, do something faster, we need it quicker, we need a redo or something else. But the emails that I really enjoy is when law firm is yelling at their corporate clients because they screwing up in some way. So some cases I've seen where they need to get data for a case and IT is doing export, and IT at the company obviously has no idea about litigation, the deadlines or anything like that. They just taking their sweet time. So sometimes an attorney would be yelling at them about what they're doing wrong or how slow or fast that they need things done. So that's always a nice thing to read. One time they were getting angry with a custodian whose phone data needed to be collected, and we were trying to schedule time with them and say, okay, we're gonna meet at this time, you know, it's all scheduled, and the person was supposed to be available or something like that, but then they're not replying. And then next day they're like, oh, sorry, I left early that day. And they didn't say anything or anything like that. And that's when you start seeing these fights between different parties. And that's my favorite time to get out popcorn and just watch people fight each other. Another time when I enjoy reading those emails is when I get corrupt data. I get it, I try to process, it's bad, it's corrupt, it doesn't work. I pass it back and I say, sorry, can't do anything. And then I see either project manager or client and they're all going back and forth. Okay, I'm gonna upload again. Okay, it's still corrupt. Okay, I'm gonna do re-export. Okay, it's still corrupt. I'm gonna do this. Oh, it's still corrupt. And I'm just sitting there like, okay, yeah, whenever you guys are ready, sure, I'm here. Just tell me when to start processing. And of course, it's fun to say, I told you so. So a lot of times happen, client calls up and say, oh, I have this amount of data there in this format. I need to process this fast, and gives all the specifications. And of course, project manager or salesperson comes over and says, we have these instructions from a client. We need estimates, this and this. And I say, I don't know what they said. Get the data to me. I want to look at the data, and then I will give you an estimate. And everyone's like, no, 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 the client said what we have. And I said, we cannot believe a client. Never believe a client. Don't believe quantity. Don't believe what type of data. Don't believe anything they say. Get data here. We'll look at it and we'll provide an estimate. And of course, salesperson is going to insist, no, we have to provide an estimate. And I say, fine, here's your estimate. And then the client gets it and they're all discussing whatever. Now we get the data finally. And of course, it's a different type of data, different quantity. Something is different that's going to affect the deadline. And then I tell project manager or salesperson saying, hey, this is what it's going to take. And they're all like, well, but the client said we have a deadline and the client is this, client and that. And I say, well, you guys go fight each other out, because I told you, get me the data first, and then I will look at it and provide an estimate. Do not listen to what client says. And of course, people don't listen to that. And now we're watching a chain of emails going back and forth between the sales and the project managers and the client, and they're all discussing how they need it as soon as possible and how the quantity of data is going to affect the price or conversion or something else. So yeah, another one of those. And look, I'm not trying to be a jerk. I understand that clients cannot provide reliable information because their own technical limitations or some information that's available to them. And I'm not necessarily placing them at fault for it, but I'm saying that this information rarely gets translated correctly. Therefore, only the right way of doing this is to actually getting the data to the vendor, so they have to look at it and then they can provide accurate assessment, estimates, and anything else. So not necessarily client's fault. They might be at a disadvantage because they're not being told, or maybe they never plugged in a hard drive and there is a post-it note on the box that's wrong, or something like that. So that just happens all the time, and that's what it is. And one of my favorite scenarios is when a law firm client finds out that their client is being deceptive to them, that they've been hiding something, they're not sharing information, or something like that. So a couple of things that happened in my history, and one is where a client was pretending that they don't have certain documents. And the law firm was like, oh yeah, no, it's all cool, we got this case, this and that. And then once they got to see the data, or I think maybe it was produced to them, they're like, oh, where is this email? Why don't we have this file? What happened to this data? So they quickly find out something's going on and their client has been withholding on them. Now, another situation was where a client was withholding a device and not giving it to a law firm client. Now, the client had multiple iPhones, I think, throughout a number of years, but then they decided to say that they never had a phone during a particular year, right? And the law firm is like, okay, well, we don't have those messages, we don't have this, we don't have that. And it's fine. But then what happened is there were notes or there were indications in the iCloud environment that this phone did exist at some point. And when the law firm find out, they realize that the client is being deceptive and they're not sharing all the data, and they decided to drop them. So again, that was another fun email exchange going back and forth, that I definitely enjoyed reading. So is there anything I'm missing? What other email exchanges do you enjoy reading? What do you break out popcorn for? Put it in the comment section below. Don't forget to follow on LinkedIn, subscribe on YouTube, and I will see you on another video.